Hmm. Okay, so today we're going to discuss about the outcome measure ASEA scale. So ASEA stands for the American Spinal Injury Association Impairment Scale. It describes the person's functional impairment as a result of spinal cord injury. This scale indicates how much sensation person feels after light touch and pinprick at multiple points of the body and tests for key motions on both sides of the body. So for this, we're gonna start with the sensory sensation. So we're gonna assess for both left and right. We're gonna assess for the light touch and pinprick sensation. So for light touch, we're gonna use a cotton ball, and then for pinprick, we can use the sharp end of the reflex hammer. So we're gonna assess all dermatomes of the body, and then provide a particular grading, appropriate grading for each. So the grading are 0 for absent, 1 for altered, 2 for normal, and NT if not testable. And next is we're going to assess for the motor key muscles. So we're going to assess as well both left and right, and we're going to assess the following. So T5 for elbow flexors, T6 for wrist extensors, T7 for elbow extensors, T8 for finger flexors, T1 for finger abductors, then L2 for hip flexors, L3 for knee extensors, L4 for ankle dorsiflexors, and L5 for long toe extensors, and last is the S1 for ankle plantar flexors. So this has also an equivalent grading. So 0 for total paralysis, 1 for palpable or visible contraction, 2 for active movement, gravity eliminated, and then 3 for active movement against gravity, and then 4 for active movement against some resistance, and 5 active movement against full resistance, and last for NT is non-testable.
So continuing, so in order to so what we will need to do is these steps. So for this one, so how to get the neurological level of injury. So basically, first is we have to get the neurological levels in both sensory and motor in both right and left. So in order to do that one, so the sensory level is the most caudal part, is the level that is most caudal. So which needs na dapat they are both intact in both pinprick and light touch sensations. So next is determining the neurological levels ato ang motor. So for this one, so this will be the defined by the lowest key function, which has at least a grade of 3 in testing. So providing the key muscle function, so represented by segments above that level, are judged to be intact. So dapat ang ato ang motor level should be at least grade of 3, and if ever in regions that there is kanang no myotomes to test, so the motor level is presumed to be the same as the sensory level. So next is determining the neurological level of injury, or the NLI. So basically, this is easy. So in order to do this one, so you just need to refer to the most caudal segment based on the steps 1 and 2, or the neurological levels in both sensory and motor in left and right. So what is the most caudal segment found in neurological levels, which will be our neurological level of injury. So the next one is you can see it is how to determine if it is complete or incomplete. So basically, we have here the on the left side voluntary anal contraction and deep anal pressure. So and also we will be using this as part to determine whether it is complete or incomplete is the segments S4 to S5 in both sensory in right and left. So in order to have a complete injury, so the voluntary anal contraction and deep anal pressure should have a no as an answer. And S sensory S4 to S5 and in both right and left are graded 0. So if four of them, if the voluntary anal contraction is no, S4 to S5 are graded 0, which is absent, and then the deep inlet pressure is no, that is considered to be a complete injury. So next is incomplete. So how determine? So in order to determine whether it is incomplete, so if ever one of them has a grading, let's say sensory in right side has a graded grade of 1, so that is still considered incomplete. So if ever the VAC or the deep anal pressure, either of them has an answer of yes, it is considered incomplete. So in order for it to be complete, so all four of them or the VAC and deep anal should be a no, and then sensory S4 to S5 in both right and left should be graded 0. So next is the ASEA impairment scale. So there are actually five or six. So first is A, which is the complete. B is sensory incomplete. C is motor complete. D is motor complete, and E is normal. So for the A is, so we can it is easy to determine this the impairment scale A because based on the complete or incomplete injury. So if it is complete injury, then our a C impairment scale should be A. So next is B. So for the B or sensory incomplete, so sensory but not motor function is preserved below the neurological level. So that includes the sacral segments S4 to S5. And also, no motor function is preserved more than 3 levels below the motor level on either side of the body. So now for the difficult part is not necessarily difficult, but in order to, we need to differentiate between the C impairment scale C and D. So for the C is um for the ASEA scale C is this is based on the motor, so which will using the left side or the myotomes as our reference, which has C5 to T1 and L2 to S1. So in order to do this one, so basically we need to count how many are graded in our motor in a range of 0 to 2 and a range of 3 to 5. So if ever our motor or our key muscles has more grading from a range of 0 to 2, it is considered a CS scale B. But if ever the total number of the range 3 to 5 is more than the 0 to 2, that is considered a CS scale D. So ang ASEA scale E is considered to be normal. So that is if both sensory and uh, motor are tested and are graded as normal in all segments. So that's it for our ASEA scaling measurement. Thank you.